one-way fighting.
What do you think in terms of it progressing? Do you think it's going to become something that's going to grow, or do you think it's going to stay in that sort of community?
I think that there's a big push to get Sambo into the Olympics, and in all honesty,
is it too violent?
Sport Sambo or Combat Sambo? Sport Sambo, absolutely not. Sport Sambo is absolutely not too violent. Combat Sambo, I would personally, for me, it's not. But I think if Sambo ever does go Olympic, it will help institute, or it will institute changes which will dumb Sambo down. For instance, in Sport Sambo at the minute, you are permitted the scissor throw, which is banned in judo, and it is not permitted in BJJ, but it is permitted in Sambo, and it's one of my favorite techniques. So if it goes Olympic, I think they will see that, we will see that removed. They're already talking about removing it in the run up to trying to get it Olympic. So you will lose little things like that. If Combat Sambo were to go Olympic, I'm absolutely definitely not sure. Like, I could handle Sport Sambo going Olympic. I could go, okay, there's going to be a couple of losses here. I'm willing to accept them for the good of you know, Sport Sambo as a whole, for the idea of pushing it further and getting more people involved in the sport. If Combat Sambo were to go Olympic, I don't know. I think we may lose the groin shot and headbutt rule. In which case you're removing two things which give Combat Sambo its particular flavor, and
yeah,
I don't think that's a good thing.
The Olympics is all about headgear, and they don't want to see real big knockouts or anything like that. They just want to see that point system for combat sports. I think it'd be good for the exposure for the sports. You know, people are then more likely to take it up. But again, like you say, one of the things about, I mean, do you find the brutality of it something that draws you to it, or do you feel that that's just a consequence of it? I mean, I was talking to Clark, who used to do the gym with, and I said to him, it's a hard thing to admit, but when you get someone into it and you're beating on them, it's a bit of a rush, but you don't want to sound like some sort of bully or something when you're saying it. Do you find the brutality is something that draws you to it, or is it the technical?
It's both. I am like, look, Neil, I'm someone who I'm not going to make any bones about who I am and what I am. I'm absolutely attracted to the brutality of Combat Sambo. My first Sambo competition was a Combat Sambo competition. The first fight I had in that competition basically involved me and my opponent holding on to the shoulder of each other's kirka and uppercutting each other for about 3 minutes in total. And the ref kept pulling us apart and warning us, but we just laughed it off, gripped up, and just kept uppercutting each other. So I think that anyone in combat sports that says, look, I'm not attracted to the brutality and being able to hit someone and hurt someone legally, anyone that says they're not attracted to that, that's doing combat sports, is a liar. Or they're deluded. Okay. The difference is that I want to do it in a controlled environment where I'm not actually going to be hurting anyone.
No physical long-term damage to them.
I don't want to like cause any damage to anyone, but you're right, it's a rush, of course it is. And that's one of the reasons we do it, if not the main reason. So for me, what attracted me to Combat Sambo was definitely the brutality, because as I say, I originally trained traditional jiu-jitsu, And for many years, I felt like there was something missing. There's something missing here. What is it that's missing? And it turned out that it was the training methodology. And a lot of the stuff that I learned in traditional jiu-jitsu is in Sambo, combat and sport. They often actually call Sambo Russian jiu-jitsu. And it was the training methodology and this ability to like self-select techniques by, am I going to get my head punched in if I, you know. Now that said, it's like a combat Sambo class isn't just two people wailing on each other. You know, there's a lot of technique, there's a lot of, you know, proper drilling. But yes, the brutality is an attraction. And the thing with the Olympics is you mentioned the point system. Now, sport and combat Sambo both have an intricate point system, which I don't think should be lost. It's an intricate point system. It works well. But my experience of sports that turn Sambo is that they turn Olympics, sorry, is that they always lose something. Like judo at one stage lost leg attacks. Worst thing judo could have done. Worst thing they could have done. And so I just feel that if Sambo goes Olympic, whether it's the sport element or the combat, you're going to lose something. If you lose something from the combat element, you're going to lose the groin shot rule for definite. And you're probably going to lose the headbutt rule. Now, these are two things which combat Sambo should never lose. Now, let's put this in perspective. I talk about the groin shot rule because technically speaking, groin shots in combat Sambo are legal. Okay, but you're going to see very few fighters actually trying to kick or deliberately knee their opponent in the groin. You know, number one, it's not as easy to do as people think it is. And number two, when your opponent knows you can do it, it makes it even less easy.
Is it more just...
We'll see.
Is the groin shot more just sort of to stop the 5-minute breakup? You know, is it more just to keep it flowing, the actual fight itself, or is it something that they say, you know, if you can get it, get it?
No, absolutely. If you can get it, take it.
Yeah.
You know, it's just that what you train for is what you get. So if you don't train that groin strike, the chances of getting it are lower, and there are higher percentage techniques. That's the thing. People think like in a system that allows groin shot, they're just going to stand there and be trying to kick each other in the groin for 6 minutes. No, that would be pointless because groin shots are not that easy to get. They're easier to get in the clinch. So when two sambists clinch up and they're holding on to each other's kirka, that's when you're likely to get that groin shot. And it usually happens accidentally. Now, if you receive a groin shot, let's be fair, you're going to need a standing count.
Yeah.
So that groin shot rule is there as a utilitarian rule of, yes, you can strike the groin because it's a legitimate target. But we're not gonna be silly about this and say, once you've been struck in the groin, you need to carry on fighting. No, it's not going to happen.
No, but yeah, I just feel like the Olympics themselves, they take a lot of sports and they dilute them in the combat sector. You look at the basketball, they'll have the dream team for the basketball and allow professionals to play basketball so they can have your Michael Jordans and that in it. But then it comes to a combat sport and it's not too pretty to have someone get knocked out, so they dilute that down. And I feel like that they're a little bit deluded old white men in their rich buildings who just decide what they think's best for the world. I just, you know, don't get me wrong, you know, I don't want to get hit by the Olympic Committee, but that's how I feel about it. I just don't think for the combat sports is, you know, I know it is at amateur level, but.
Well, I agree with you 100%. I mean, what you have to remember is, from a Sambo perspective, Sambo is an amateur sport. So you don't have any official professional sambists. Do you know what I mean? Although they do exist, they're fighting in other things as well. So the problem with the Olympics is money. There's that much funding revolving around the Olympics, which is why everyone wants their sport to be Olympic. And once you've got that funding, you can push your sport or your system more and more. And I understand that, and I get that. I just, like yourself, I see too many systems and sports that have had changes made to them that have changed the character of the sport. Like judo is the exact, judo's the perfect case in point. There's been that many changes to judo over the rules, that many changes to the rules in judo over the years.
Yeah.
But absolutely, the Olympics have caused a massive shift, and it's not a positive one, not from my perspective.